Arrow. Hello, and welcome to Office Hours with Arrow, a LinkedIn Live event hosted by Arrow leaders who care about what senior living looks like. Amanda Tweten.
Hello, Michael Buckley. It is so exciting for you to join me today for LinkedIn Live. Thank you for that lovely opening. It feels strange to not have Rachel with us and telling us what to do. Where are you, Rachel? But I was so excited for us to pick today's topic for LinkedIn Live. We have been here once before talking about Arrow Leadership Academy and what we do at Arrow every month. But I thought we could do a quick kind of refresh of who you are and why you're here and why you're so important to the Arrow leadership structure. So for those of you who are tuning in, hi, welcome. I feel like I'm on Arrow Leadership Academy. Buck and I do a video. I'm always like, hello, welcome to Arrow Leadership Academy. I'm Amanda Tweten, your Chief Operating Officer here at Arrow Senior Living. If you're new here, I'm going through the whole spiel.
We have a whole routine. We have a whole thing. We've been doing it for 4 years now. So it is definitely a well-crafted, choreographed, back and forth exchange of proper grading. But hello, LinkedIn Live event, and take it from there, Amanda.
Yes. So for those of you who are wondering what this topic is going to be about, at Arrow, we very much believe that what our leaders think influences how they feel, which influences their actions, which then influences the result. And so we spend a lot of time working with our leadership teams on how to influence what you feel, or how to manage what you feel, how to change what you think to influence how you feel. And Buck, who we lovingly refer to as our Chief Feelings Officer, is also our personal and professional development coach. You work with, I want to say, over hundreds of our leaders, meeting with them individually every month or every other month, doing special sessions or one-off coaching. And the reason that we chose to make this a LinkedIn Live topic was because we think it's so important for leaders to have the skills to be able to navigate the different things that pop up in day-to-day management. And, you know, it's like a muscle. You have to work it all the time. It's not something that I went to a session and now years later, I'm still the amazing manager. Like it's a daily effort. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I always describe coaching yourself like going to the gym for your brain. So again, if I start exercising, I get in good physical shape. If I start actually coaching myself, my emotional management skills, my leadership skills, they improve, and I can't just stop. So I exercise and I get in peak health, and then I stop. Guess what? I instantly get in bad shape again. The moment I stop coaching myself, I fall apart, or I go back to bad old habits. And so it's amazing, if I don't talk to someone for like 6 months and I see them, I'm like, your brain is so messy. Or again, you have just let this, go on too long. And, a lot of the work we're doing is really mindset shifts, habits and behavior shifts, and then ultimately identity shifts. And it's amazing to see people who they start somewhere. They think, well, this is just who I am. I'm 40 years old and I'm always going to be like this. And I had a bad leader, or I had whatever. And then suddenly, like 2 years later, they're unrecognizable to me because they have grown. And I think, that I always say life management skills. I think a lot of us are working on developing these life management skills that no matter what happens at work, I want to handle it in a way that is not overwhelming or frenzied or depleting. And that takes practice, that takes skill. So a lot of the work we're doing is thought management, emotional regulation, and then what are our best actions and habits to get us all the outcomes and the results we want in life and at work and for the business.
Well, and I think if you're in the industry watching this, and you aren't doing some type of investment in leadership management and development on a regular routine basis, that's part of the reason we chose this topic, was to challenge others, because I do think, the leader that I was 6 years ago to who I am now, based off even just the work that you and I have done together, I was always very quick to react or get angry like anger was like a go-to emotion for me. I was very quick to get angry. I stayed in the problem for way too long. I was very defensive, instead of like receiving information as just information. And of course, I had to be defensive about the things that I was getting. And, that's not the type of leader I want to be. That's not the type of engagement that I want to have with our team. I mean, who wants to work for someone that's like that? And so again, we think line staff deserve better. Our department heads deserve better. Our EDs deserve better. And so if we're not constantly trying to improve how we problem solve and engage, what's the point?
Yeah, and I think one of the most compelling parts of Aero Leadership Academy is when Amanda gets on after. So the format is I talk, I present the topic, and then at the end of it, I always ask Amanda to put a bow on it. And Amanda is always very vulnerable and open and transparent about, hey, I'm working on this too. And I think as the chief operating officer, as of a big company, I get responses after saying that we so appreciate that Amanda's not just sitting here like, here I am, do it. She's like, I am working on this with you and for you to be better with you and for you. And so often your voice is way more inspiring and compelling than mine is. And so I appreciate your willingness to share just now and with the team all the great work you've been doing over the last 6 years. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I would say it's not just me. I mean, if you think about it, every single member of our core team of leaders, which there are 23 of us that oversee the various service areas or parts of the business, like it's a requirement to meet with you if you're a core team member. If you're an executive director in our organization, it is a requirement to work with you on a monthly basis. Again, because we want our leaders to be in the best headspace as they solve problems and they work with people. And we're constantly finding ways to improve or evolve. And I always say, like, if you have a leader in your organization who is not interested in meeting with Michael Buckley or not interested in doing the work, like that's a red flag right there that this is not a person that's meant for our company, because there's so much work to be done on that person that they're not even ready.
I always think a couple things. Idea. Yeah. And I mean, it's fine if you show up cold or you show up thinking I'm not going to get anything out of this. It's fine if you show up, oh, I already have a coach. Oh, I worked with an executive coach 2 years ago. Oh yeah, I know. You're still, I always think you'll get something out of this, because even if you are the end all be all and you're a 10 out of 10 out of leadership and emotional regulation, I think you're doing this work also for your team and how you lead and coach them based on a lot of the Aero leadership principles. So again, even if you are 10 out of 10, the best leader ever, and again, I hope you show up and you get something out of it for you, but also for how you lead your team. And to give a little shout out to myself, why not? We're on a LinkedIn Live. I was just talking to an executive director 2 hours ago, and at the end of the call, they looked at me and they said, I thought it was weird when I was assigned to work with you, and I don't think I wanted to, but I was talking to my DOW and I was saying, God, we really enjoy those calls and we get a lot out of them. So I was like, thank you. And again, I don't need that. That's lovely. But I appreciate someone being honest, like, because right, if I started with a company and they gave me someone to work with, my first thought would be like, again, my first thought might be, and again, I don't like to talk about myself, or I don't like to talk about whatever. And I also work with a lot of people who it takes them about a few months, like 6 months in, they'll look at me and they'll be like, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm like, go. So again, it took them time to kind of build up, because when they show up, they kind of put on a good show. And they also think, well, I'm going to run and tell Amanda and Stephanie everything they're saying. I don't. And so, and I always say to people at my onboarding, when they come to my onboarding, I'm here for you. I'm in service of the organization, which is hiring me to work with you, but I wish you to get as much out of this as possible, whether you work for Aero for a week or the rest of your career. I really want you to know I am here to love you unconditionally, to believe in you, and to want you to be so successful. And so I feel so lucky and grateful that I get to be part of this team, because God, it's fun, and God, it's fulfilling, and I get so much out of it. I'm grateful that you say to me, you guys get a lot out of this, but let me tell you, no one's getting more out of this than me. So thank you, Amanda Tweten, because, years ago, I asked everybody to come up with a purpose sentence. So that's another kind of a coaching thing, like come up with a purpose sentence. Why are you here? So again, why are you here? And Amanda's purpose sentence was, I am here to connect amazing people with amazing opportunity. And I think about me, and I am just an example of Amanda Tweten living in line with her purpose, as are many amazing individuals at Arrow Senior Living. So thank you, Amanda, for giving me this opportunity.
Well, and what does that say about you? That a purpose statement that I created, what 3 or 4 years ago, you still remember? I mean, so that's.
But it's such a good purpose statement, so of course I remember. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, and what was I going to say? Oh, I think the other thing too is for anybody who has been like resistance to this kind of leadership development, I always think like, one of our core philosophies is 80-20, like you focus 80% of your time on the solution. And so even if you are just keeping conversations with a leadership development coach focus in on, I have this particular issue that I'm trying to navigate, or you're having to deliver what we call a necessary conversation instead of a uncomfortable conversation. Like if you're like, one of the things that I rely on very much with you is kind of like thought downloading, like everything that's going on about how I feel about whatever just happened. And then cleaning up my brain, like, and coming up with those 2 or 3 phrases or sentences that could help me start the conversation in a more positive direction, so that I focus on the solution instead of like getting lost in the details of the problem, which could then very quickly kind of cycle you back into just like a negative headspace. And that's not easy to do. I mean, I'm messaging you.
Work in progress. Yes. Work in progress. All of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so one of the things that we wanted to talk about, because in our every month we kind of theme our sessions. And for the last 3 months, we've kind of been building off of this month is National Bystander Awareness, or National Nonviolence Day happens this month. And the way that Arrow chooses to celebrate National Nonviolence Day is with a bystander / upstander conversation. Like, how do you help your leaders when they see something going on that's inappropriate or that might be making others feel uncomfortable? Not everybody is good at interjecting to be like, hey, that isn't something that we say in 2024, or wow, that was a surprising, like people, like we're constantly surprised by the things that happen in some of our communities. And so I really want our leaders to be able to engage in a situation like that. So like that's our topic this month. And, as we were going through preparing for these discussions, we talked a lot about boundary setting, and like not just like the boundaries of work-life balance, but also the boundaries that you have for yourself, what you're willing to accept in a conversation or the way that you're treated. And we talked about, in creating boundaries, one of the things that you said is no is a complete sentence. And I remember the first time you said that, my heart started to panic, because for those of you who don't know, one of Arrow Senior Living's core values is that the answer is always yes. So how do you exist in a place where no is the complete sentence and the answer is always yes? It's an interesting dichotomy, but it works, because the key that like I want us to walk away from is that at Arrow, no is really KNOW. I don't know enough about whatever is happening or what's going on or the priorities of what's happening to be able to say yes. And so it kind of refocuses us on, if you're setting a boundary and if you're saying no, how can you negotiate or compromise to ultimately get to the solution or the result, the productivity, in a way that works for not only the employee, but works for the business. And so that's been something we've been unpacking the last couple months.
Yes. So we were doing this recording 2 months ago about boundaries, and I know what I said, because I said it 3 times, because we do Arrow Leadership Academy a couple times, and I said, and I don't, sometimes I prep Amanda for what I'm going to say, and sometimes I don't. And I remember the first time I said, and I said it, I'm paraphrasing, and I always clap just to be dramatic. I said, I know we have core values. And the answer is always yes, which is lovely philosophically, but it can't always be yes. It's impossible. And it should not be a yes at a consequence of myself. And so I could just see Amanda get out her pen and think, I got to come up with a way to, say. And Amanda did handle it beautifully and respond to it beautifully. And again, both things can be true. The answer is always yes, but we have to be able to say no. And I think as I was preparing to talk about this topic today with you, I was going back to really I don't know, like as a child, like just think about it. Yes is a good word. No is a bad word. Yes. And then when I get told no, it means so many things. I feel a certain way. And as a grown up, and many of us, and you are all in the service industry who wish you're in a people-pleasing industry where you hate to be disappointing to people. And so you really struggle with saying no and what you make that mean. It's bad, it's rejection. And I mean, I think about me on this call today. I said no to something to say yes to this. And so I think we have to be okay with that. And I remember journaling years ago, and it's interesting because I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, I had said, and think about this in your personal life. I know this is work and we're on LinkedIn, but think about your personal life. I had said yes to so many things that I really did not have time for me. And I started to feel resentful and at capacity. And again, how am I spending my time, my emotions, my money? And I remember writing down in my journal, and it just felt so good. I wrote down, saying no is a beautiful way to acknowledge your authenticity and capacity. And I thought, that feels good. And I also wrote down, a no to you is a yes to me. And I mean, I know that is hard. And I know it. And I ask people, if I'm coaching them who are struggling saying no, why is it hard? Why don't we do it? And what is the consequence of not saying no? And I think, we have to think about our bandwidth and our capacity. And at work, it's like, how much do I have on my plate? And again, I can't take on more obligations if I'm already full. So again, saying no is having clear priorities and setting boundaries. So again, if I'm saying no in the moment, it's only because I'm saying yes and making this more important in the moment. And so again, philosophically, the answer is always yes, but sometimes we have to be no is a complete sentence, and that's okay too. Like, I just want people thinking about it that way, so it's not so cognitive dissonance. They're saying this, but they're also saying this. Like, I am asking you to have a little nuance in your brain how you approach this.
Which, yeah, I think is true. Because, another philosophy or a thing that we've been saying a lot recently, which I really do hope is hitting home with our team, is that I will take care of me for you. You will take care of you for me. I mean, there is an element of responsibility that I have to make sure that in order to get to the yes, to get to the end result, to achieve the goal, like, I have to be able to navigate and negotiate the things that are coming at me at any point in time and work through how I'm going to prioritize. And sometimes that's not always going to be my call. I mean, it's the collaboration piece of, like, if I'm working with a team of people and I know that the goal is this, I also know all these other things that are coming at me, like, that conversation to the KNOW of, like, what's more important here? Like, how could I reprioritize? How can I get to this result when I'm also juggling all of these things? What can I negotiate? What can I negotiate away? What can I set down for a different time? And, like, if you are a department head working with an executive director, I want our team to be able to be like, I don't know that I can do this. Like, let me show you all the things that I have. And is this still a priority ask? If it is, then I will put this down. So again, that when, like, we support the no as a complete sentence, like, and I was worried about people getting confused by the core value and this concept, because, all you can do is all you can do. I mean, we're only human.
Period.
And
Period. Say
in
it
this
louder. Again, once you actually believe that, because most people still don't believe that. They're like, no, I can do more. I can trick my nervous system into thinking I should be working every night till 11. What? And again,
why?
I tap
Yes.
out of that game, you know?
Well, and there's also this like another again, for those that don't know us, like we really do believe and live our core values,
Yeah.
or I do. And so like one of our core values is I believe in the power of a chuckle.
Yeah.
And when I am going through my training on the core values, I always when I get to that one, which is my favorite core value, like I talk about the fact that, you know, life is so very short, and how we choose to spend the time that we have is important. And the fact that any employee or leader in our organization would choose to give any of their limited amount of time on this earth to Arrow, I want them to be able to do it in a way that can be fun and enjoyable. And so there isn't, I mean, and I think people, as I scroll through TikTok, I'm seeing all these things about Gen Z and like the boundaries that they create, or like the work-life balance. And I do think it's realistic for you to have like boundaries that you set, and a life balance that you create. And I guess the interesting thing is we work in a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business. So how do you create work-life balance in a 24/7 world of taking care of seniors when anything could happen at any given time? And again, I still think that is a moment of negotiation of priority, because there will always be something to do. It's like laundry. There will always be laundry to do. So like if there's always going to be something that's happening, how can you find the moments you're willing to put down, what you're willing to negotiate? And again, you're not alone in making those decisions, because what you decide influences everyone else.
Fun fact, the first self-help book I ever read in 1995, there was a section that said, you are going to die and your inbox is going to be full.
Mhm.
And it was interesting because it was 1995. I had just got like an email, a computer. I'm like, what does that even mean? But it is, you're going to die and you're going to have things to do. And I don't want my definition of success, and I don't want my enjoyment of work contingent upon if I get everything done in one day, because I won't. And I love what you said. Is this a priority request? I remember in my first 2 or so years of Arrow, someone would say to me, oh, Amanda or Stephanie emailed me and they dropped everything and they did the whatever. And I said, did you ask them, do you need this now? Can I do this first and get it to you on Thursday? So, right, if I'm a department head and I'm getting a request from another department or my executive director, I can say, is this a priority request? Or I was going to do this right now. Is this more important? So I will put this down and come do this. Do have those real conversations versus being annoyed you're getting asked and not sure of what's more important. If I don't know what's more important, I will ask my executive director, and then I'll tap back in my service lead at another moment too. Hey, this came up. What do you think is most important? I always jokingly say, and we don't pay you enough to think this much. So again, let's make this easier for you, you know?
Well, yeah. And so real talk, like one of the things that I'm like struggling with right now, because again, as we try to like negotiate through work-life balance and the boundary conversation, you know, one of the things that's happened, or that I've noticed more recently than I have in years past, is, uh, how do I say this? So I do think that we have always operated as a company as like we look for the thing that needs to be solved, the problem. I mean, we're professional problem solvers, so we're always looking for a problem to solve. However, when you are always dealing with the problem to be solved, everything around you is negative. Everything around you feels like it's a problem. It's a problem, and so lately I have been feeling like we just keep getting hit with all of the negative things about what we do. And so like if you're trying to create some kind of boundary to navigate like the balance of work and life, like I'm literally struggling with it feels like everything is wrong. Everything is going wrong, and I get trapped in that kind of mindset that everything is wrong. And like, why do we do this? Like, if we can't do anything right, why are we here? Does that make any sense?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and that's the fear part of our brain, and it's operating overtime, and it is misleading you a bit. And that's why the rational part of your brain gets turned off, because the fear part of your brain gets so loud. And so it's like, how do I soothe myself? And how do I, and again, this takes practice. Like if I don't coach myself, the messy part of my brain and the fear part of my brain is naturally going to tell us we're all going to die. We're not doing enough. We're in over our heads. So I've got to get better at, my self-talk and my self-regulation. And again, we're in an age of like, the younger generation knows way more about mental health and well-being than we ever did. And so when they show up to work, they are going to want to work in an atmosphere where we can say no, we can have clear priorities, and we can set boundaries, because otherwise my mental health and my well-being are going to be here and it's not worth it. And so I want to create a work environment where we can achieve all our outcomes. We can have 100% occupancy, amazing retention, but we all can take care of ourselves. And so that's the world I am living in. It's a little optimistic. It's a little future focused, but I know Arrow, again, the fact that I'm here and the fact that Arrow wants you to be so happy and successful, and I am literally here just for that. I hope more companies and industries see this and think, we need that. We need that more than ever right now.
Well, and I think it's funny because, if you were to look at how like Stephanie and I function, because, like Stephanie, our CEO, like I tend to be a little bit more of the fluff. Not, I mean, like, I say that with as much love and but I'm a little bit more of like the EQ kind of side of this. I think the reason this works is because she's very metrics focused and numbers focused. So if you can find a balance between taking the time to care for the fluff part, or for the emotional part, or for the mind management part, and then you balance that with performance metrics, like clear goals, like I think that's how you find the ultimate balance, because you have to be like, it's not that we're saying work-life balance and you create these boundaries and you get no results. No, work-life balance, you create the boundaries, you understand the result or the outcome, the goal, and you're structuring your time in such a way to hit those results. And I think finding that balance is what has helped us evolve in our leadership. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, it is. And I wrote down metrics and people, not metrics or people. Like, again, we are a company that cares about metrics, and we are a company that cares about people, period.
Ooh, that should be a topic.
Yes, yes, yes. Can I share a quote that I'm reading this book called Not Nice, and there's a lot about saying no and how to do it. And it's a very interesting book, but I'm just going to read this quote since this was the topic today. I highlighted it, and it's, again, saying no in your business and work life ends the insanity. It clears away the confusion and declutters your day. It helps you be more productive, achieve more, and best of all, feel more happy and free. It keeps you connected to your bigger purpose and mission so you can do what you're here to do. I just thought that was lovely, so I wanted to share.
Well, I don't think that's the worst way to kind of bring this to an end.
Yeah, I put a bow on it at the end. So I love this topic. I love sharing life with you. I love sharing work with you. And I'm so grateful to be on your team. And I'm excited to be, 10 years from now on LinkedIn Live talking about all the great work we've done in the last 10 years,
Yeah, I agree. And again, I say this, like, part of the reason that we do LinkedIn Live is to try to create connection with other operators, other people in the senior living industry. And again, if you are somebody that is playing around with the idea of investing time in this kind of work, I strongly encourage you to do it. I mean, I think that our company's core or leadership team looks very different than it did before you started. I think we've got a solid, strong group of leaders who are all here, like, because they want to be here. There is a connection and passion for what they're doing. And then I also think there is a retention to our leadership group. And it also, because we are committed to this work, it very quickly helps people who might not be aligned with kind of the direction that we want to go in our organization, it helps them work through that exit much quicker than wasting 6 months or a year and a half doing like being here and not wanting to. Does that make any sense?
Yes. And I'm looking at the comments, and I wanted to say thank you to Christy and LaShawn and Cheryl and Julie and Mark and Brooke and Elizabeth and Bree and Nicole and Shailene and the people Libby and the people who are Mara and the people in the chat who are saying nice things about the work we're doing. And so again, I nothing but gratitude to be part of your team. And thank you for tuning in today and leaving comments. And I'm reading them, and my little heart is even getting mushier and bigger. So thank you.
I don't look at the comments while we record.
I did. I just looked over and I'm like, oh man, they're so sweet.
Wow.
Cheryl
Well, I
Walker,
think we did
so
it.
much power in the know. KNOW. Yes. Yes.
I think
Good.
we did it, Buck. I think we
We
did it.
We did it. All
All
right.
right, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Bye.